Hi. Alrighty. Welcome back. We are on round 2, day 2 of the Pogchamps tournament. Up next we have Papa Plata playing against Ludwig. And so this is the first game we're seeing of Ludwig here in Pogchamps. Judging by his Papa Plata's play this game, it looks like he got himself into kind of a tough situation here. Let's just talk about it for a second, because you see here how it looks like White's doing really good here because it looks like you're ready to trade off the queens. You're up 2 pawns, and it looks like you're threatening to take to trade off queens because but Black does not have to play Queen takes e2, which would be King takes e2, and then. Uh, which would be king takes e2, and then the rook would save itself, but then you still up 2 pawns. But however, you can completely change turn the tables, and now black is threatening queen takes e2 mate. And so there's only one way to get out of this, which is knight f3, defending the queen, also attacking your opponent's queen. But then you just take the pawn, you get a pawn back, your rook's under attack. Papa Plata did find a defense, so now if you take the queen and take the rook, you just take the queen. However, there's an idea here I missed. Oh yeah, just moving the queen out of the way. Then the only threat is still rook takes e2 check, which now that this is a rook instead of a queen, the rook and queen just completely switch spots. I mean, the queen was here, but the same file. And so the only way to get rid of that is you have to move the knight here, which is defended by the bishop. And White's in a lot of trouble here. Now he missed. I thought there was a okay. There is a tactic here because the knight's here, preventing any captures here. So, um, bishop f7 check. I was thinking of, but king takes f7, and then knight takes g5, and that's winning a queen. If you take with the rook, it's the same idea, except now you trade off. It's double check. You have to move the king. And so you save the knight. So you would have won the material back, and now you're up a piece. So there was a tactic here. What he played, this was well spirited, but the problem is it puts the attack back on the queen on e2. So this tactic doesn't work anymore because you can just take with I mean, you still move the king, but now the only way to save the game is to give up the knight. And then he straight up blundered his queen. So black made a mistake here, but black can just take the queen here. Not only that, he's attacking the bishop. But yeah, there was a missed tactic here while the knight was still on this file. All you have to do is just play bishop f7, check. If you move king, well, I mean, you could just move the king, I guess. I mean, that would have that's the only move, because the other moves, capturing the bishop, results in losing a rook, and capturing with the king loses the queen. So you have to move the king, and looks like there's going to be some trouble here. I mean, you still have to save the bishop now, and maybe you can protect the knight here. So that would have been an idea, and you're still up a pawn here, and you're holding on to the position. So that's the only way I think you could have saved the game as white from this nasty control of the e file. You just play bishop f7 check. The only move is king d8, and then you just defend the knight. Anyway, we're getting ready for the start of the tournament. So I'm going to follow Papa Plata. Unable to follow. I guess he went. He left. He must have been doing some puzzles. That must be what he's doing. No, I wish you could slash follow somebody when they're not in live. That would be. Oh no, I did see Ludwig play. He played Box Box. Okay, I was just looking from Box Box point of view. That game, I believe. Okay, but this round we have Papa Plata versus Ludwig, and then at 2 p.m. Pacific time we have XQC versus Morse Critical. So yeah, it looks like it should be starting. You are now following. Okay, good. All right, so we're just waiting for the game to start, and I expect Papa. I haven't been watching Ludwig play very much. I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe him and Box Box had a very close game until it wasn't. But from yesterday, I don't know. It's like I'm already like forgetting, which is a bad sign. Should not be forgetting chess games. It should be going the opposite direction. Or maybe it's going to get worse before it gets better. Maybe my memory is going to get really bad with chess games, but it needs to happen because I'm shifting my new brain thought process. And then I'm going to start like memorizing entire games. And this is usually what happens when I reach new levels of chess or anything really. Is I tend to get worse before I get better. I think that's like normal for most people for anything. Is once you start to improve at something, there's a period where you just start getting a lot worse. And it's because your brain is shifting its paradigms. It's shifting its way of thinking. And it's going to get worse, but then it refines and it gets better. Alright, so we got Papa Plata playing the white pieces versus Ludwig playing black. And we got an e4 pawn opening. So it looks like, I feel like Papa Plata is a very tactical player. Judging by watching him do his tactics and watching him do... He's been doing a lot of tactics. And judging by he handled that last game, even though obviously it did not end up too well and he blundered a queen anyway, but his opponent missed it. Okay, so we have an f5 happening. That's not used to seeing that. It was the Latvian gambit. So it looks like Ludwig must have been booking up on some theory, because I can't see any other reason why he would play f5 unless he's done some preparation. So we see Ludwig starting. We have the different styles of players. Just we see these new players, and we're watching this whole process unfold, and we're starting to see. We have a spotlight on these beginner players that we've never had before in history in chess. This kind of spotlight on coaching new players has never happened before. And what we're seeing is we're seeing the different types of approaches that people have towards a chess game. We have people who do mostly tactics. We have people who, study up book openings. We have people who, like to do sacrifices and crazy. We're seeing all the we're seeing all the different types of players. And of course, after d6, you have to move the knight again. Um, Hopefully he doesn't do something crazy like go to knight d3. Looks like he wants to reposition over the queen side. He's taking this opportunity now that his knight's attacked to go over the queen side. However, now he just captures the pawn. He has the central pawns, and then also d5 can come at any moment. And so now he's going to have to move the knight a third time. So it looks already like Ludwig is performing a lot better this game. Looks like he did do some opening preparation. Which sometimes, I mean, as much as we like to say that openings don't really matter in the opening, if you do have, oh god, and now we have Papa Plata already losing a piece. Oh god, Papa Plata playing way too quickly, not looking at the threats, not looking at the ideas behind the position. These pawn duos just marching down the board, destroying those knights. This is how powerful the center is. This is how powerful pawns in the center are. Yeah, and this is also why Would have been better if you just, moved the knight back. Because in order to move that pawn, you would have had to play not only d5, but then you'd have to play e4. And that would have taken 2 turns, and you would have been able to defend against d4. I mean, against, you would have been able to defend against e4. And, well, first of all, if you played d5 earlier. Anyway, let's look at that after the game. Right now, it's Papa Plata. I mean, he definitely could just resign right now, but he is trying to find counterplayed, so he's doing queen h5 check. Now he has to move his king, or no, just move the pawn, g6. And then, oh, there is a tactic here. Oof. There is a tactic. I didn't see this tactic. If you, the only move is g6. Oh no, if you play g6, there's a tactic. So do not play g6. You have to move the king. If you play king e7 or king d7. I think king d7 would be a little bit safer. Then you're gonna win the pawn, and you're gonna save the knight. So it looks like he did save the game, but now his queen is gonna be in the center of the board. However, Black has Ludwig has only 2 pawns in the game, and so I completely misread this position. I did not see. Oh, so he has the tactic now. He's gonna win a rook, and then he's gonna get the knight. But then, in fact, he could just take the pawn. No, he can't take the pawn first because the queen's guarding it. So hopefully he finds queen e5. Hopefully he planned this all along. Maybe he hasn't seen it yet. It's possible. After queen e5 check, bishop e7, and then queen takes h7. And then d takes c3 is going to happen, but you can just play d takes. And that opens up your bishop. Probably with thinking of eventually coming over to g5, maybe just f4 for now, after you develop your bishop, castle. So now Papa Plata definitely doing better. Definitely doing better. I did not see that. This is some of these ideas in the opening. It looks crushing. Like it looks like you're just straight up gonna win a piece. But then just throwing that queen h5 check completely out of left field. Completely out of left field. At the very least, you would have won. You would have saved. If you played king e7, you would have been able to play queen e5 check. At that point, at that point you would have been able to. Okay, yeah, that would have been an in-between move, and then you play queen d5, check, and then you take the pawn. Or you just take no, yeah, you take the queen, and it would have been not so. Okay, so yeah, it would have been better for Black if you didn't move g6, but because of g6, now you lost the game. So now Ludwig, thinking that he was winning, completely winning a knight, now he's probably throwing his chair across the room. Definitely a turn of events here. I'm kind of ashamed I did not find that queen h5 check. Although g6 was the wrong response. After the game, I'm going to look at what Black could have done after queen h5 check, because I do believe Black would still be better off in that position because of the queen. The queen is guarding against queen takes d4. After queen d5 check, you play king e8 check, king e8, and then you have to trade off queens, and then king takes e8, and then you're still. Oh no. Then you save the knight, and you just do knight takes e4, and white would be up 2 pawns. But in this case, your white's up a rook. So he's like ignoring the pieces. He doesn't care about the pieces at this point. Saving, obviously taking the pawn would result in just the queen capturing. He's gonna go after mating threats. But sadly, you cannot get this queen magically over to f7. If only you could move that queen like a knight, you'd be able to deliver checkmate. However, that's not possible. There are ideas. Okay, so there is queen takes g8 check, winning a piece. Also just threatening to bring the king out totally into the center, and then you play queen d5 check, and you can trade off the queens, and the king's on d8 at that point, completely exposed. There's definitely that's definitely that should be the plan that Papa Plat is having. That should be the plan. Is just start off with check, winning a piece. The king has to escape. The only legal move is king to e7. There's further. Oh, you can't check here. Never mind. You check here. So queen f7 check, and then king d6, and then queen d5 check. King back to e7, and then you just take the queen with check. King takes, and then you figure out what to do with these knights. Which knight to save? Whether you even save a knight, you just let it happen. But I would recommend you got to pick one of those knights that'll be most useful, and pick which pawn to capture back with. I do think d takes knight, d takes c3 would be better. So if you would move knight d5 after you trade off the queens. And then after after d takes c3, d takes e3. Obviously bishop cannot take because of this pawn here on b2. And looks like, okay, so Papa Plata is going straight for the check. That's definitely, okay, so this is definitely a way to save both knights. And so he's not taking any chances, even though he's up material, he's not, he wants to make sure that he saves his, okay, so now you can just deliver check here, and you saved both knights. Not only that, but you're threatening this bishop. A slightly different route. Obviously, I feel like this is definitely a better, more accurate route. I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit, careless with my trades. Well, not careless, because if you're up a rook, I'm settled for like simplifying the position. Maybe he spent a little bit too much time here, but at the same time, he's up almost an entire queen, and he's gonna win a pawn and a piece. With knight takes e4, check. Maybe not win. Yeah, winning a piece, because you can play king e6, but knight takes, and they're defending each other. You got your stunt doubles. Oh. Mm, I don't understand. Why do you do that? Why do you give up his queen? Like I said earlier, you guys. Like I said earlier, blunders can happen at any moment. I have no idea why queen takes g6. H takes g6. I wonder if Ludwig is like busy calculating if there's like a plan here, but there's definitely not a plan. H takes g6, knight takes e4, check. But the king has escape squares. Why didn't he take the queen? What the heck? And then he ended up trading off the queen. How did he? How? I almost think this like Ludwig saw that but chose not to take it because he's like, no, I'm not going to give you the benefit of like I'm not going to let you just blunder a queen. Maybe he has too much integrity, or maybe he's trying not to. Maybe he thinks Papa Plata might be trying to game the system. I don't. And it's not very good to accuse players of doing that, but at the same time, these players are kind of new to chess and they don't quite understand that if you throw the game just so you can get into the different bracket, I mean that's definitely against the rules. Intentionally losing games can get you disqualified. Because that's trying to game the system. That's not what we're about here with chess. We're trying to play the best possible chess we can. The integrity of the game is at stake. So giving up a queen, pretty sure that may have been just a mouse slip. Just gonna give Papa Plata the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he realized. I don't think he intentionally gave up his queen. Although then Ludwig missed it, so I guess you can say like, shame on Ludwig for maybe he got scared. So I need to give these players some more credit. Where it's due because these players are still pretty new. That rhymed. These players are still pretty new, and maybe because he only has like 5 minutes on his clock, I keep forgetting that I'm so used to playing games that 5 minutes is like an eternity to me with increment because I played so many games with increment and also blitz and also super blitz and also bullet. And so after a while, if you play enough games at a fast enough time control, you start seeing time differently. And I keep forgetting that feeling, that feeling of pure terror when you only have you're trying to play with the clock. But I also feel like I also feel like when he saw that, maybe he thought that there was some tactic and that if he took the queen, there'd be some checkmate or something. Maybe he was trying to play psychologically. But the thing is Papa Plata did not need to do that. Papa Plata is already up material, just had to trade off pieces, play it simple, play it safe, and he would have just won the game. But luckily Ludwig did not see the free queen, or did not take it, or chose not to take it for some reason. And then he was able to keep the advantage, and he's now up a queen and a piece basically. So all he has to do is really just trade off pieces and then deliver checkmate. um, Really kind of a simple plan here, as long as he keeps his cool and doesn't do anything super crazy and throw away all of his pieces, which is definitely unlikely at this point now that he's like faced losing a queen. Maybe he's going to be like super vigilant about not losing a piece. So I feel like we're just gonna see, like a run of the mill end game here. Just trade off the pieces, get the king into the side of the board, and deliver checkmate. It's a really simple plan. Doesn't really take too much calculation. Just throw your pieces at your opponent. Say, hey, take this rook, and if they move it, well, then you get to move your rook into the game further and do well, not there, but you know, different plans. Just figuring out where you're gonna get all your pieces into the game. Okay, so you just take with this pawn. You could also just deliver check. Yeah, pretty simple from here. Obviously, Ludwig is staying in the game. Just trying to find the best moves, because that's really all we can do in chess is we can practice just finding the best moves, regardless of the situation on the board. We always know that we have to make a move or resign, and resigning is, it's like, how are we going to learn from our mistakes if we just resign every game? I have that bad habit where I just resign games after I lose a piece or something, and it's like I'm really kind of selling myself. I'm really kind of shortchanging myself by doing that, because I'm not allowing myself to play out these end games. And so now you're just going to win a rook. So knight d7 check, and it's a fork. You're going to take that rook on f8 on a date. And so we're gonna see. Oh, so he missed it. And so now you can save that tactic by playing king d6. So now it's like this. You'll see this a lot. You'll see people missing just missing regular tactics, um, and that's a shame because he could have won a rook. But he's already up so much material. It doesn't particularly matter. You could even just get your king to c2. Get your rooks on the D and E files, and just push this pawn, and he's going to give more checks. King d5 can happen. Okay, so now I'm getting your rook into the game. This pawn is going down unless you play a6. Maybe you just play rook b4. You can't do that because the knight will take, but you could if you just really want to simplify the position, but it's not necessary. You could just deliver check. It's defended by the bishop, so you don't have to worry about that. You can play rook e1, and then you have a reveal check. You can win a rook for a bishop. If you keep the king on the e file, so you do move the king to the d file, playing king d6, and now you're just now you're still threatening to you took the pawn on a6, and now you can take the pawn on b file. The b pawn cannot be defended except by knight a7. Knight a7 would defend except bishop takes a7, so that's definitely a problem. You cannot defend it. This pawn is going to be lost after rook takes b5, and then you play something like king d7 or king d2, I mean, and then you play rook hb1, and then you double up your rooks. Your rooks are going to be completely dominating. Hi, are you a beginner in chess, and what is your LO rate? I'm not a beginner. I'm a low rated. I've been stuck in the low rating, but I've been studying chess since about 2000. 2010 or so. I learned chess when I was about 8 years old with a chess computer. I like to play the Sicilian for that reason because I played against the chess computer since I was really young, and I think the first thing that really got me into the game was watching Chess.com's coverage of the first annual Sinkfeld Cup. Because I still remember like that excitement that I got from watching that game with Aronian, and he's just like completely controlling a single square, and the whole battle is about controlling a single square, and black's coming in with like two rooks and a queen on the queen side, but the knights and another I think the king were also defending, and it was just completely dependent on what happens over on the queen side on that one square. And that was like the most exciting thing I've ever experienced. That really got me into actually like watching chess players, watching chess commentary, watching chess.com with like Danny Wrench, and there were some, that was back when Dan Heisman was there, and he would do lessons and stuff, and answer questions, and just regular stuff like that. However, I do have this bad habit of blundering pieces, although I do blunder a lot more in blitz games, and I do have about 3,000 blitz games on chess.com, and I've been trying to play less blitz games and playing more rapid games. I only have about 800 rapid games. Definitely is kind of an issue where I just blunder pieces for no reason because I just fail to just look at the entire board sometimes, and it really sucks. But I have studied a lot of chess. I have watched a lot of chess commentary. I understand a lot of the ideas and positional ideas. And the thing is, the biggest problem is that for years I avoided doing tactics, and that's the big issue because you can't get anywhere in chess without tactics. People say 99% of tactics. That's rubbish. I mean, tactics apparently, according to many titled players, after you get to about 1800 or so, tactics are less and less important because everybody kind of has a solid foundation in tactics at that point. Especially as you get higher and higher rated, tactics are less of an issue because everybody has like near perfect tactics, and so the real plan, that's when you're going to have to start really perfecting your positional ideas and your opening ideas. And so, but at the same time, like you cannot get to that point without tactics. You can so tactics is 99% of getting to 1800. So I guess you can alter that statement to say that instead of saying 99% tactics. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. people saying that chess is 99% tactics. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's like maybe like 30% tactics. Uh, and it's like the rest is like positional ideas, end game, openings, psychology. There's all sorts of different things. I've played plenty of games. I used to play in Team League on Lee Chess, well, not other websites. I used to play, the multiple team leagues and the Slow Chess League on chess.com. That was run by Dan Heisman, or not. Yeah, it's run by the Dan Heisman Learning Center. Yeah. And so the Dan Heisman Learning Center now runs 45 plus 5 tournaments regularly. I have a hard time going to those lately because I'm focusing mostly on just studying and doing tactics, working on some chess books. You know, I would say I'm not really a beginner, but I'm very low rated. So there's but then I've played against some 2,000 plus rated players, including some title players like Alexander Botez and GM Amon, WFM Alexander Botez and GM Amon Hambleton. Um, well, I'm Rebecca Loran on chess.com. Right now, I'm covering the Pogchamps tournament. So you're gonna this stream, I'm not gonna be playing games. I am watching Papa Plata and Ludwig, who are two big streamers. If you're not aware of what's going on right now, there is a big tournament between all the top streamers, such as XQCOW and BoxBox and Papa Plata and Forsen and all like Nate Hill, all sorts of mass critical, all these kind of like streamers who have thousands of viewers, and XQC probably the biggest of all of them with tens of thousands of viewers. Competing for a $50,000 cash prize. This is an unprecedented tournament in chess history. It's a tournament where we're watching lower rated players, beginner players. We're watching beginner players compete for top cash prizes, and being coached by none other than Hikaru Nakamura, Alexander Botez, GM Daniel Norditsky, Robert Hess. You can't spell chess without Hess, as we know. But yeah, I am not playing these games. I am doing commentary over these games. I feel like it's really good practice. Obviously, I'm not going to get too much attention, as chess.com is completely running this event, and their coverage is going to get the most views, of course, because they have the highest quality. They have the highest quality, and that's how it works. But at the same time, I'm taking this opportunity to practice doing commentary, and these are lower rated players. And while I'm not necessarily a complete beginner, I do know what it's like to be lower rated. I do know what a lot of these lower rated players are going through, and obviously doing commentary helps me improve my game. So the only way to improve is to try. If there's this toxic attitude in the chess community that if you're not already a GM, or if you're not already a title player, or if you're not already high rated, then you shouldn't be streaming chess, you shouldn't be doing commentary. And the thing is, it's like it's a chicken and the egg problem, right? Like, how are you supposed to get to that level if you don't even practice? And so in order to practice, I need to be doing this commentary. I need to be watching these games and trying to say, okay, well, who's going to win this game? What's the position like? Let's analyze the position. This is what you do in order to improve. And we can spot holes. Like, there was a huge blunder earlier in this game, and Ludwig missed it. There was Papa Plata played his queen to g6, which could have been captured by the pawn. We completely missed it. And it wasn't with check. I believe it wasn't with check. I'm pretty sure it was not with check. Um, yeah, if it was with check, I'd be dumbfounded. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. The whole chat. I looked at the chat and they're like, "What is this? What's going on?" um, yeah, I definitely remember. I was like double checking. I was like, "Is this check?" So this is gonna be checkmate. A simple staircase mate or ladder mate, whatever you want to call it. He played very well in the end game. So what we saw here in the opening is I failed to see this tactic here. There was an idea. Let's go into the live analysis. Let me unfollow him so we don't get our board messed up. So what happened here at the beginning, is that there was this attack on these knights. However, I failed to see that there's this nice tactic where you play queen h5 check, and sadly Ludwig played g6, which is losing a rook. But I believe the only move is either king e7 or king d7. If you play king e7, there's queen e5 check, and then but then you can play king f7, and then you can check, queen takes, knight takes. If you take the pawn here, you're going to lose the rook. I mean, if you take the knight, you lose the rook. So there would have been ideas either way, but at least this way, after you do check, bishop takes, maybe you develop the bishop somewhere, and then you're going to win the rook. But now you're up a piece instead of a whole rook. Maybe that could have been the best opportunity. And maybe king a7, obviously that's a huge mistake. Maybe not a huge mistake. You could force a draw here. Maybe not a forced draw. Oh yeah, that would, you could force a draw. You could have forced a draw here. I believe if you play king d7. Is that a forced draw? No, you could play bishop here. No, bishop e6 would definitely do it. I didn't understand half what you said, but maybe you know Russian? No, I don't. This is an English stream. And then you could play knight here. And then you would just be able to save both knights at that point. So that, I think that would have been the best option for black. Is that I think king e7 was the only response here. King e7, I mean king d7, and then if you play queen, I mean that's if you play queen d5. This would have saved the knights for white. If you play queen d5 check, you have to get rid of the check. Oh no, you could just play bishop d6. And in that case, you can attack the bishop, but then you take the knight. And then black would have been up a pawn here. I feel like this would have been the best response for black. Here we go. This would have been the best response against queen d5. But I don't think queen d5 would have been the best. I mean, there's probably different ideas like queen f7 check. And at that point, you can do check here. Let's see. To check. Yeah, there's all sorts of different options. Sadly, Ludwig played g6, which allows this tactic of forking the king and the rook. And so you have to get out of check. And he played the bishop forward. You could have played the knight forward, or you could have played the king away. But no matter what you do here as black, you're going to lose a rook. And then you're just down an entire rook. And that's... so there's some ideas here of, giving checks here. All he had to do... Oh, so there was an idea here where if you deliver check on f7, you have to play king d6, and then you play queen d5 check, and you have to move the king, and then you just trade off queens. And it's a simple reduction. If you take, and then you can save the knight. Well, it trades if you just take the bishop and then maybe check, but then you get the bishop activated and you can castle and you're fine. You're up an entire queen at that point. Your pieces are completely dominating the center of the board, completely dictating the name of the game. So at that point, Papa Plata missed that entire line. And so but what he did was working too, except this is not working. This is not working. I think it would have worked if this bishop weren't here, because it would have been with check. Oh no, it, because either way you just capture the queen. If it was double check, if for some reason this was reveal check with double check, but it's not, you just give away a queen. However, Ludwig failed to see that you can get a free queen, and now the material's equal. However, now you take the knight at some point, so you save the knight, and you're attacking the bishop. So I still think white is doing better here, simply because of the material in this, the activity in the center. But at the same time, he played very well after he recovered from that. After he recovered from that blunder that was unpunished, he continued to just trade off pieces and go in for an attack and just get rid of pawns, get rid of mating chances, attacking the rook, just completely just getting rid of all the material on the board, trading off material, getting a pawn promoted, um, getting the king towards that rook is really important. And then here's a yeah, getting the king towards the rook, because now the rook has to move. Well, if you could have just done this or something, and then that's just giving up the rook entirely, and then you have a queen and a rook, and you just slowly whittle down into a checkmate. Anyway, that's the first game of the day. We're only having 2 games today at 2 p.m., which is in 25 minutes. We will have our game with XQCOW versus Moist Critical. And so I will be back in 25 minutes, so stay tuned. Let's just get ourselves to the critical moment in the position. And how either of them could have saved the game was right here after this move. After this move, this was I believe the only move for black would have been King D7. I believe the only move would have been King D7. But the move that was played was G6. That's an error. Let's just make that green because it's a green light. Let's make this that's an error. And then if you make that green move, then you just you can just check, and then you play bishop to D6, and then you just capture the pawn. So yeah, that's we'll be back in about 25 minutes. Be right back. Alright guys, I am back. So looks like we're about ready in a few minutes to get to XQCOW versus it was Moist Critical. So XQCOW won. XQCOW versus Moist Critical. I am expecting Moist Critical to take this game. XQC might surprise us. He has been working a lot on chess, but so has Moist Critical. Judging by the game, I don't know. It's really kind of hard to tell. Maybe they might be evenly matched because I saw Moist Critical playing earlier. He's extremely careful with his calculations. Just really like understanding fundamentals. XQC, I've been noticing he's getting a lot better than he was before. However, so we can't discount either player's efforts. So we're going to see a game by both of these players shortly. Just trying to see. To follow XQC because okay, so it looks like he is playing somebody right now. Yeah, so this and looks like he is down a queen in this position. But yeah, I'm not really sure how either player, Moist Critical or XQC. I have if I want to take a guess, if I had to say one player has a better chance than the other, I would say Moist Critical has a better chance. He was playing against a 900 player earlier, and he was just completely winning up an entire rook. Obviously, there's multiple factors to chess, and of course, if your opponent blunders, you can completely dominate the game. And chess really comes down to creating positions where you can get advantages. And when people are playing, when people are playing chess, A lot of beginners don't realize that a lot of the times when you start winning games, it's not because you're playing better chess, it's because your opponent just throws the game away. And it's hard for a lot of beginners to understand this because it's good because, like, you're getting excited about the game, you get excited about winning, but there is a next step to take. Is once you understand that, like, the reason you're winning is only because your opponent's blundering pieces, then you need to start thinking differently about the game. You start thinking, okay, well, how do I make a situation where if my opponent doesn't blunder, I still don't lose the game or I win the game? Like, I can create an advantage, or I can create imbalances that I can later exploit. So it's like, that's really how you think about chess. You don't really think about, like, oh, I'm winning and I don't know why. It's like, maybe when you're an absolute beginner, you start winning and you have no idea why. But once you start understanding and analyzing the games and seeing, okay, well, I won this game, but I shouldn't have. A lot of the times, if you look back at your games that you won, there was a chance where your opponent had a huge advantage and then they just threw it away. And that happens for you as well. There might be chances where you had a huge advantage and then you throw the game away. So it works both ways. There's games that you won that you shouldn't have, and then there's games that you lost that you shouldn't have, where you actually were objectively better in a certain position. And so once we start understanding that about chess, we can start looking into our games, completely getting rid of our ego, and just saying, you know what, it doesn't matter. I need to look at the position objectively. I need to look at the way I'm playing, and I need to look at why my opponent was able to get that advantage, or why I was able to get that advantage, or was there an opportunity my opponent had to take that they didn't take, or was there an opportunity I had that I missed? And that's basically what it comes down to when we analyze our chess games. We have to look at how we play and why we make certain moves, and it's definitely a very involved, painful, slow incremental process. It's but all of us have to go through that if we want to improve at chess. And obviously, on playing online, there's a lot of factors besides, because we don't know 100% that the opponents we're playing are playing with integrity, like whether opponents are not cheating, whether opponents are not talking to their Discord about the game, etc., etc. So okay, so the game has started, and so now we have XQC playing the white pieces, and we have Moist Critical playing the black pieces. I'm almost thinking that XQC might do something crazy, like play C4, but most likely E4. Yeah, okay, like goes for E4, going for a tactical position. Maybe he's been watching Critical, and maybe Critical has less tactical ability than XQC. XQC has been doing a lot of puzzles, so E4 a very tactical opening, especially against E5. Maybe they're evenly matched with tactics. I don't particularly know. I don't know both players well enough. But I can see already we have a lot of exchanges in the opening. Does not look like. I mean, this is not what we're used to. This is the Scotch game. So it's definitely some imbalances in the center, such as, this knight is now attacked several times, so you just give the knight away. I do think that XQC is playing a bit too fast. This could be opening preparation. I doubt it. But I think he's. But I mean, if we want to look at it objectively, that knight. Oh, well then. Wow. Well, there you have it, guys. That's the game between XQC and Moist Critical, and like I said, looks like Moist Critical just completely took that game. The problem with the queen and the bishop lined up here on F2, for some reason I couldn't see that. This is one of my issues. Is why when I play blitz games, I fail to see a lot of things. Obviously, the best I can possibly do to improve is to play rapid games, and this is kind of why when you play super fast, you miss certain things. And so when you take this knight, you're completely missing that there's a checkmate right here. So it's definitely sad to see a game end that fast, but there you have it. We see a quick victory from Moist Critical. XQC now is in the consolation bracket. I really hope he's not trying to lose, because he can get disqualified for that. He was actually boasting in his stream. I saw a clip the other day where he was talking about. Maybe he was just joking, but he was in his stream the other day. He said, "I'm playing. I'm going to lose, and then I'm going to rise up in the consolation bracket and get the cash." And it's like, okay, well, you know, chess.com was hoping that they wouldn't do stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like this is a win for chess either way, regardless of how the attitudes of the players are. You know, the players are going to act the way they act. I feel like it's much more important. We need to take that bullet for chess. We need to take that bullet temporarily to just let these players just do their trash talk. You know, this is the new environment of chess, is online with esports, and it's a different atmosphere. However, I do believe that certain behavior will end up just eventually just being stomped out, and we'll get to a new balance that'll be a really good balance. It'll be rough for a while. We're gonna get a lot of trash talk and a lot of negative attitudes and stuff like that. But that's how esports is. You get some people who are just super negative. So far, I haven't seen that in this tournament, but it's just like I really hope that players aren't like intentionally losing their games. I don't know. I think XQC just missed this. It's difficult to see, you know, because when you're playing in the opening, you're not expecting somebody to checkmate you in the beginning. But Moist Critical taking a chance with bringing the queen out early. So let's see, how could have XQC played differently here? I mean, just leave the knight there, definitely. You could have just played bishop e3, and that defends the bishop, but it also defends the knight. So then, if you play bishop e3, let's say knight takes, pawn takes, and now the queen and the bishop are guarding, and now you have central pawns, and so XQC actually would have been a lot better off here, threatening e5. So that could have been the situation here, but he missed it entirely. So it's definitely sad to see a game end that quickly. But at the same time, that's what happened, and I will be back later to play rapid games and hopefully play with viewers. But that does give me a quick you know, I was expecting to be analyzing this game for at least 20 minutes, but sadly we see a quick checkmate, and you know, feels bad, man. Okay, I'm gonna be back later to play some rapid games. So yeah, not starting stream soon. So yeah, I would say that this is a very interesting day. I was not expecting a mate that quick. But, you know, tomorrow, that's the second and final game of the day. Tomorrow, June 10th, 12 p.m., starting 12 p.m., and then at 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. So we have 3 games tomorrow, starting with Nim versus X Chocobars, Forsen versus It's Slicker, and Box versus Swiftor. So I'll see you tomorrow, if I don't see you later for rapid games and stuff, which I definitely will be back for. But I will see you tomorrow for more Pogchamps coverage at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, bye!